Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn is back at it again, somehow trying to attempt to defend the Dillian White situation. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. Wow. Everything keeps going from sugar to shit regarding rematch room, Eddie Hearn, and this whole Dillian White PED scandal, that's currently underway. Eddie Hearn's talking about it a little bit, but really not saying much. He told Sky Sports there was an independent hearing and Dillian White was cleared to box after providing evidence. Maybe the evidence provided was sufficient enough to prove he may just be innocent. Give him a chance to prove that. Let's get some facts and let's let some facts come out. So, if you fail a test, I don't know what you can really prove when you have something that's a metabolite and anabolic like Dianabol, as they call it. Eddie Hearn also talked about Dillian White being suspended, and he says, and I quote, Dillian White, he's not suspended by the NADP, UCAD, or BBBFC, so why should the WBC suspend him? Agenda, pressure, 600 days to become a mandatory. They've moved very fast to make sure he's suspended without actually getting any facts. Eddie Hearn is really making it worse for himself, and I'm gonna break it down and give my thoughts. Make sure you smash the like button. He really is, because he sounds absurd. He says they're suspending him without getting any facts. The fact is Dillian White has something in his system that shouldn't be. That's a fact, because to this point, we have not heard Eddie Hearns or Dillian White come out and say the opposite. Now, the easiest thing, if someone is accusing you of being on drugs, is to say, no, I'm not on drugs, and no, I haven't failed a test, which in, a week and a half, 2 weeks, or whatever it's been since the actual episode and fight with Oscar Rivas, not one of them have actually come out and said that. So that leads me to believe, we have no choice but to believe the reports. Eddie Hearn hasn't said much. He hasn't really said anything to go the other direction. He said, let's wait till the facts come out. You tell us the facts. Oh, we can't. It's a legal matter. So, we're going to go off the reports. We're going to go off of what happened. And, people are going to speculate. Second, the WBC, they have a provisional suspension. He's talking about it's an agenda. He's making it worse for himself. He's making it, why would they suspend him? Is it because he became Wilder's mandatory? First of all, that doesn't even make sense. If the WBC was protecting Wilder or some bullshit, then why would they even rule in his favor when they have the jurisdiction to do so? Why would they even have anointed the winner of White Rivas as the mandatory challenger for Wilder and the interim champion? Why wouldn't they just rule against you if they were trying to protect? So, Eddie Hearn he's at the casino with no money. That's what it's looking like. He spent his money, he took the gamble, and he has no more, he's already maxed out and withdrew as much money as he could from the ATM, and he's desperate. He's trying to sell things in his car in order to gamble again and try to win some money back because he lost everything. That's what it's looking like. It's looking real bad. Again, common sense. If you're going to go the route of, it's an agenda, the WBC is protecting Wilder, mandatory, then why did they even allow him to become the interim champion? And it would have stuck. The only reason why they have this provisional suspension is because of the information they were not provided. Had they been provided that information, or the public or Oscar Rivas' team, we may not have even seen the fight, because we don't know if Rivas' team would choose to go forth with the fight knowing he failed for any reason. B, the WBC had they had that information to begin with, they may not have made the same decision and made the winner of this fight the interim champion. You know, so this information was withheld from the public, the media, and most importantly, Oscar Rivas and his team and the WBC. So how can you blame them for saying, hey, we're doing our own investigation, we need some more facts, and through this process, we're not recognizing him pending this investigation? That's all it's saying. Dillian White and Eddie Hearn especially, he knows he knows, you done fucked up. You done fucked up. It's just what it is. There's no other sweet sugarcoating way to put it. He know he fucked up. You know, how can you be mad at someone who said they're basically, the provisional suspension is just saying, yo, we weren't informed of this when making our decision, so temporarily he's suspended with us, and we're not going to recognize him as the mandatory interim champion pending and depending on the outcome of what we find. If we find that it was like foul play, or he can't justify this, or what, I don't know what he's planning on presenting. So that's all it's saying. And Eddie Hearn knows that. He's talking about it's an agenda. See, this is a classic case of, the person who did something, the side that did something, trying to play victim. Oh, why are they doing this to us? It's an agenda. No one feels sorry. You had something that was banned in your system. These are rules. And we can go deeper than that, and we'll start with, remember when Luis Ortiz failed a drug test, and it wasn't with anabolic, it was with like something else, and he was supposed to fight Anthony Joshua. He was Anthony Joshua's mandatory. We'd never seen Eddie Hearn say this. And the WBO or WBA, I forget, one of the two, he was Joshua's mandatory. It had to be the WBA, because I don't think Joshua had the WBO at the time. I think, it was Andy Ruiz and Joseph Parker fought for it. So I want to say the WBA. So basically, the WBA had a mandatory of Luis King Kong Ortiz, who was promised to fight after the Klitschko-Joshua fight. Joshua beats Klitschko, and then, he's scheduled to fight Wilder or whatever, still ranked highly with the WBA, and he fails a drug test with hypertension, things that can be found in hypertension medicine. And they just completely removed him from the rankings based on the WBC's clean boxing program, finding in the Wilder, build up that Luis Ortiz had these banned substances in his system, and he was a second-time offender. Now, the WBA, they just came out and said, we've dropped Luis Ortiz from the rankings. We didn't see no investigation. Even though the WBC allowed Luis Ortiz, that he had to appeal it and present his facts and present his story, right? And the WBC allowed Luis Ortiz, they accepted his what's it called, his excuse or whatever for having it in his system, right? And they allowed him to later fight in his very next fight after that against Deontay Wilder, the WBC champion. So Eddie Hearn can't play that game because the WBA, they didn't do anything. They just dropped. I think Luis Ortiz is out of the rankings to this day with the WBA, and Eddie Hearn didn't say shit. But now all of a sudden, when it comes to Dillian White, he wants to be optimistic. Oh, let's wait for the facts and let's wait for this and that. But you didn't say that with when the WBA no longer recognized Luis Ortiz off of somebody else's failed drug test. Off of the WBC clean boxing program, they stopped recognizing Luis Ortiz, even though the WBC still recognized him and had him ranked. So it's horrible. And Eddie Hearn makes some of the worst strawman arguments. He says something to the effect of, he's the BBBOC and UCAD, they didn't suspend him, so why would the WBC do it? They're the ones that also look bad in this situation for allowing the fight to go on whilst Team Rivas doesn't even know. So the more Eddie Hearn talks and does interviews, the worse it gets. It looks extremely bad to hear this stuff come out of Eddie Hearn's mouth because it sounds so like outrageous. He's talking about, oh yeah, UCAD didn't suspend him in the BBBOC. They didn't suspend him, so why would the WBC? This must be an agenda, playing victim. They're the ones that look bad in this situation too, because again, why was the fight allowed to go on? That's what people want to know. Why did the fight go on, given the fact that a drug test was failed for any reason, and you have limited time to figure out? What if he did it for like heinous reasons, and you're going to allow and risk somebody's life fighting a guy who's just coming off a one-punch knockout in his last fight with Derek Chisora? You're going to allow that to happen just like that? Come on. Eddie Hearn looked crazy out here with this, and Rematch Room and Dillian White. Let me know what you guys think. You know, Eddie Hearn trying to play victim, but new media is on the case. We working.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.